I put my resume out on LinkedIn. My whole background becomes like a LinkedIn story, but they've never reached out to me about it. But I put my resume out on LinkedIn, and I was almost immediately recruited by a company called ZX Ventures. And ZX Ventures is the venture capital and innovation org of AB InBev. AB InBev is the largest CPG company in the world. That's the consumer packaged goods industry. They own brands you might know, such as Budweiser, Stella Artois, Corona internationally, and then a handful of like 100 different craft brands here in the US, and then over 350 brands internationally. And what they were trying to do is they created ZX Ventures as the innovation and venture capital group to basically get ahead of the next trends that were coming in beer. And I was so interested because it's a very big thing to say, like, I am a large CPG and I cannot figure this out on my own, so I'm going to dedicate literally $1 billion towards figuring it out and hire the best minds in direct-to-consumer and all these things to figure it out with me. And then I'm going to place strategic investments around the table. And the reason they recruited me is that they believed that beer as a category was declining, and they wanted to stop that, right? And it's declining for a couple of core reasons that I won't get into, but very much around like lack of premiumization versus wine and spirits, lack of health properties that are really important to everyday consumers now, and then a lack of female-focused marketing traditionally in the beer industry. But what they have is this family of brands that people love and that people recognize. And so their central posit was, how do you take brands people love and turn it into sales? And how do you use those sales to then drive beer consumption without selling beer? And so they brought me in because I had this very weird background of finance, supply chain, operations, technology, and merchandising. And I like to think that there's only probably 2 other people with that background, and the other one was like not available. And that is why they hired me. Because they, like, when I talked to the recruiter, she was like, you have the weirdest background I've ever seen. And I was like, yeah, totally. But I love beer, and I do authentically love beer. And so I started in very, very early 2017, actually like first week of 2017, and really like showed up day one. They gave me a laptop and were like, build a business, which is really exciting for me. But they had this like posit that there was like $100 million sitting in glassware, and it's something they had given away, and could they sell it? And it was so fun because it was this environment to really test my skills in direct-to-consumer, in product like design and things like that. And if you think about this whole story, it's been very iterative in getting to know that consumer and figuring out why the person purchases and what that end consumer value is. And so at ZX for about 2 years, I built businesses all over the world and used a design thinking methodology to do it, and basically would land in a market with myself and a creative director, and we would walk the market and we'd say, what are the brands we own here? What's the competitive landscape? How do people drink them? Why do they drink them? Who is it that we drink them? We make like a different profile, and we figure out where they shopped, why they shopped, what else they were buying. And then we would build products across 14 different categories. So like glassware, apparel, housewares, food, so on and so forth, experiences, to reinforce the love of these brands and leverage the marketing that had already been done for these brands and sell non-beer things. So super fun. Super crazy, if you can imagine.
Launched 9 business units in 2 years. That's what I had in my notes here, and scaled a bunch of them to profitability too, which is no.
Yes, although the giant asterisk on that is that when you are working with Budweiser globally, there's a little bit of marketing already out in the world.
A little bit. You got a little bit of tailwind.
A little bit
with some of that stuff.